Alright, so it's a new year. More and more people are getting into photography. Maybe around Christmas time you just got gifted your very first DSLR for the very first time in your life, or maybe you have had a DSLR in your closet and you haven't been using it. Maybe you have been using it and you're just so not happy, not content with the photos that you're taking. Well, this video is going to be all about 3 tips that are going to help you take better photos. This is the DSLR edition. Okay, so the very first tip I'm going to say is always shoot raw. It's important to shoot raw because when you are taking photos raw, you're actually capturing kind of like what it's called, the raw elements of the photo. So when you import that photo into an editing software, you're able to tweak every single aspect of the photo. Okay, so here I'm actually going to show you what an image looks like in JPEG whenever you shoot in JPEG, and how it looks like when I apply a preset on it, and versus a photo that I'm going to shoot in RAW and how that looks like when I apply a preset on it. You're going to be able to see the differences automatically just when you lay the preset just right on top and you're not really tweaking much. You can see how different the image reacts to the filters and the different kind of things that the preset involves. Okay, so right now I'm actually going to start tweaking some of the things in the JPEG file. I'm going to play a little bit with the highlights and the whites, the clarity, the shadows, the blacks, and all of that basic stuff, so you can see how the JPEG file reacts to these changes. Now I'm going to show you the raw file and how the raw file reacts to these changes. I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to go ahead and tweak a little bit the highlights, the shadows, the clarity, and that stuff, and you're going to be able to see how much more the raw file is able to change and how much more I'm able to alter just the basic fundamentals that make up this image. Okay, so I hope you were able to understand a little bit of why it's so important to shoot raw and how it's so important to be able to control all those little aspects of a photo. So definitely tip number 1, start shooting raw if you're not already. I know that sometimes the file sizes are bigger and it may be a little bit more complicated. You do have to have a good editing software in order to be able to import these photos, but it'll all be worth it if you really want to start taking your photos to the next level. So the second tip that I'm going to give you today is to make sure that your photos are aligned. Not always you get to shoot with a tripod and actually calibrate it, which makes sure that your photos are aligned. Sometimes you're just shooting like regularly, handheld, you're taking a photo, and then whenever you edit it, you don't align it. It's very important whenever you are editing your photo to make sure, I mean obviously when you're taking the photo, make sure you try to align it like as much as you can, but sometimes it just won't. So whenever you're editing, make sure to align your photo. So I'm going to give you an example right now. Okay, so I'm actually going to show you a photo right now that I took, and this is not really aligned. You may be a good photo with a good preset or whatever, but you can tell in some aspects that the photo is not fully aligned. Now before I used to, and I'm pretty sure a lot of people just send the photo out like this, but it actually really makes a difference and it makes you stand out whenever all your photos are centered, aligned, and all of those basic composition tricks that absolutely do help. Now I'm going to show you the photo when I align it, and you're going to be able to see the difference and how big of an impact it actually makes whenever you start applying the small little tip into your photo taking and photo editing. Okay, so that was the tip number 2. Hopefully you're able to see, especially with the side-by-side comparison, how important it is to be able to align your photos, to be able to take them aligned, but then obviously whenever you're editing them, make sure that you are having them centered and aligned. Very important. Okay, so third and final tip is going to be to always shoot in manual. I know it's so hard to resist the urge to shoot in auto, because whenever you shoot in auto, it kind of has everything already set up for you and you don't really have to think about it. And then sometimes shooting in manual, you actually have to start controlling things, and as the light starts getting dimmer or brighter, you have to kind of manually be switching your settings and stuff like that. In order to keep things practical, I'm going to just show you a very quick example. So here's a picture that I'm going to take using the auto settings that the camera kind of just sets up for me. You're going to be able to see how exposed the image is, how sharp and how focused and everything, just with the regular settings that the camera gives, versus the photo that I'm going to show you right now, which is going to be using manual settings, where I actually was able to control the aperture, the ISO, the shutter speed, focus, and all of that stuff. As you can tell, there is an actual difference between the photos. It's so much better whenever you have control completely of your settings and how focused you are, the shutter speed, the ISO, the light, the exposure. It's so much better whenever you have full control of these things than whenever the camera just automatically sets it up for you. Okay, so that is it for the video. I hope you enjoyed watching. I hope the 3 tips that I just gave you are of value to you and you're able to understand and be able to take better photos with your DSLR. Let me know in the comments below what you think. If you have any suggestions for future videos, I plan on making like an iPhone edition of the same video with just super practical tips. So let me know in the comments below if you have any questions or requests for any future videos. So as always, remember to follow me on Instagram and on Twitter, and subscribe of course, and let me know what you think. I'll see you guys on the next one.